What's happening?
What's up?
What's up, man? A lot's changed since the last time we were on here. So a little bit. Definitely gonna have. We've got a lot to unpack. How about that,
Okay. Yeah. We do, man. We do. It'll be fun though. I got a lot to share today. So
man? So I think one of the last times we were on, we were taking advantage of an opportunity that was in the marketplace before that market really made a big almost correction on a dime. Like it like overnight just like turned. And at that time things were rocking. We were the institutional investors were cranking. There was just a ton of opportunity and going down that path, and a lot of cash offer situations, and it was just wild how fast that those institutions can make changes, and kind of leaving people that like yourself and Kev that were waist neck deep in the trenches of that opportunity, and just goes away overnight of how fast things can change. So there was just so many lessons to be taken and learned from there. And, just definitely, being able to share your perspective on how to deal with shit, how to deal with change. And I think there's a lot of agents that are kind of stuck in that spot right now. Right. And how do you make change? How do you maintain your sanity? How do you, keep your mindset? How do you, kind of navigate those waters? I think there's so many valuable lessons that you can share to help a lot of people that are navigating tough waters right now.
yeah, absolutely, man. That's a lot to unpack just with everything that you said there. And I kind of, man, hindsight's 2020 with everything you look at. And so and every time I learn something, I say to myself, man, next time I'm in this situation or I'm going down the wrong path, man, I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut it immediately and make sure that I'm good, and we're gonna readjust and make that 180 degree and no sweat off our back. And that's just not how it really is, man, because when you're in the trenches and you're fighting to make something work and you're fighting to, keep your business going or revive something or whatever, you don't see that train coming at you 200
Right.
miles an hour that you can't
Right.
move out of the way of. And so, with us, we had built our organization up past 50 people between partner agents, assistants, partners, all those things. And so when we started descaling that, it should have been a descale the day they stopped buying, because they kept saying, we're going to buy again, we're going to buy again. But instead, we held on, and so for me, it pushed me into a corner from financially. Um, and the lesson that I got out of it, the hindsight that I got out of it was, I heard something from Richard Brunson, and he said he was talking about the meetings he takes and what he lets into his schedule and what lets into his life and what he lets into his business. And one thing he said that was, I decided at the beginning of the year that I was not going to take anything that didn't point to exactly what my goal is and where I want to be in business. I will not take any meetings or anything that does not pertain to that. And he found himself turning down a lot of lucrative opportunities that offered him a whole lot of money. Um, but it turns out during that year, he was able to monumentally move some things personally, move his business personally, change his life, so to speak. And now that's a staple in what he does every year. He decides what he wants to focus on, and so forth. So my hindsight in that is, I was always focused on residential resale, growing that business, growing the team, and that segment of business is always going to be there. And what I did when that big opportunity for those cash offers came along with those big investors, because they were buying so fast and because it was so big, was I pivoted off that 100%
Mm.
and didn't nurture the business that I built for 15 years, and I just jumped into that. Well, man, we ran for 6 months and killed it. And then when they stopped, it was like, well, oh, you only jumped out of your side of the business for 6 months. Well, it generally takes about as long, sometimes even longer, to fix something that you've broken. So when you step out of your business as an agent, and you look at, and you go a different direction because of a shiny object, make sure that it's not something that's outside of the level of what you're truly committed to do, because it can come back and grab you and shake you really hard. And so, it's kind of like those, you see all those stock market graphs, or home price graphs, for better terms, as we're talking real estate. And then everybody's like, well, real estate graphs always go like this with value. But if you zoom in on that graph and you get down to a monthly or yearly, you see those massive dips. And so
Yeah.
from about 2022 till just about now is that massive dip that I've been having to go back in and just repair and readjust and get back to the center of who we are. And what I learned from it was to not take any meetings or not take any calls, and be very focused on what we have to do to pull ourselves out of it. And also not let anything else inside that takes away from that. So for me, when the cash is tight, which is what it is right now, which I'm quite sure it is for a lot of
A lot of
agents in
people.
this market, just because there's not as much real estate traffic, man, you got to focus on just one thing: ring the cash register, and make sure you remove everything else. And so, man, I know I said a lot of that, and I'll be quiet, but I think that's just over the long haul. That was the biggest lesson: was identify what your core business is, identify what you want to stay focused on, and be relentless about that, and don't let other things in, even if it looks like a huge opportunity. And I'm not saying turn away big opportunities, but make sure you measure what's coming at you, and make sure it aligns with who you are and who you want to be 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, not 2 months from now. So.
You know, Joel Person and I were just talking about, the right way to kind of transition out of production, or even transition out of the business. What's required, math equation. But, a couple things that a lot of people don't think about is, the shift in the culture. What happens to the culture? What happens to the rest of the organization? For you as the day-to-day, the one that's beating the drum and kind of in the ship together. And then, you're sidestepping over to another project, or chasing another revenue stream, that culture takes a hit big time. And so you got to factor that equation in. And so, still reflecting back over kind of the pivots and the things, like you look at from a leadership perspective, you look at that core, right? Because I mean, shit, Gene, we built that, that organization up, and then you kind of sidestep into a project, and then, the ship gets a little wobbly. So kind of looking back, I mean, some maybe lessons learned, or how to, navigate it differently in the future. What were some of those key takeaways?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point. I think when we were growing so fast and slinging so many contracts, and you were an integral part of that, just helping us navigate with that, which was, I think if any CEO across the country looked at what we did in such a small period of time, what we built in a small period of time, they'd be like, wow, that's pretty, you guys, that's pretty cool. But I think I got caught up in how big I could get it, and I got away from my core, which was quality. And the way it affected my team that I had in Birmingham was a couple of our top producers left. They did feel jilted about that move. And that was a positive reflection on me, in the fact that I didn't realize how much they did lean on me, how much they did appreciate my engagement, my involvement. And it also hurt me in the fact that I felt like I let them down, because I didn't realize that. I thought they were fine with it without me, and I could just pivot to do. And they're fine without me. I don't mean that they can't do without me. That's not what I mean at all. I just meant that there was a level of trust and relationship there that my team depended on for me more than I realized. And so now, as I go forward, I make sure that any pivots I make or any moves I make, I don't get so stuck on how big I can make it, but I want to make sure I keep the quality, because if I keep the quality, I won't see those dips, and I can still keep my business going in the right direction. But the thing that I really learned from it, that really set out to me, is making hires. And a lot of times in the past, I would make hires to see how big we could get, how many agents we could get on the team, how big we could grow, how many states we could get in, that type of stuff.
Mm.
And what I learned from that was, now I don't make hires for that reason, because I'm thinking differently. You and I, before we went live, we were talking about my daughter graduating. So and that makes me an empty nester, and I'm in a really transitional time in life, as we all go through. And here's my thought process on it. When I'm still hiring, and I still want to grow, and I still always want to be the best version of myself I can be, for myself and for the people that I love and for the people I work with and all those things. But when I make a hire now, I make a hire to take something off my plate that I don't want to do. I don't make a hire to add 20 employees and say I have a 70 employee company. I make a hire to do things to take off my plate that I don't want on my plate. And my goal is to continue to make those hires until I'm at the place in my career I want to be, to where, it's I can drive it exactly the way I want to. And so that's probably the biggest takeaway from front to back that I got out of it. So.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's a lot of trial and error to feel like we think we want to design it, we want it this way, and then we get into it and we're like, no, I don't like the way this feels. Let's change this up. And so I think being able to have that kind of that framework. But for you, Gene, going through challenging waters, navigating things from a mindset perspective, like where does your thinking, where does your kind of things to help protect what you're thinking and thinking about, like what are so key to never lose sight of?
You just always have to think in solutions. And I'll go from, and I'll give some pretty strong examples from financially, as our team went from a grossing a 7-figure team to last year, we took almost a $300,000 loss because of the aftermath of all those things. And so when you get really squeezed from a cash position, it's very easy to get in the mindset of try to save every place you can get, try to be in survival mode, try to be in those type things. And you have to stay in a solutions mindset, and you have to understand what's in front of you and how you can always continue to move forward and not get bogged down. And because I'll wake up at 3:30 in the morning when it's stressed, and that's something that's going on in my life now. And immediately you'll start reeling about the finances and how to fix all those things. And then I go, okay, well, I understand this, but I got to think solutions. And the solutions are, this is what segments of our business are hot. This is the strategy to attack those segments of the business. And this is what I'm going to follow all the way to implementation and execute on. And it's just as simple as that. But doing that and layering in the levels of consistency and continue to grow that and let it materialize is what I've really learned from that, versus just kind of, running around like JoJo Circus, hoping for the next contract or the next best plan, and still remaining strategic and remaining solution oriented, and then understanding what is working in the market and developing strategies and implementing to attack that segment of the market. And I think what agents have a hard time understanding, especially newer agents, is what's working in today's market 3 months from now won't be working, and what's working 3 months from now won't be working 6 months from now. So as long as you're a student of the game and you stay in a solutions mindset, you'll always be able to produce and generate business, which generates income, which takes care of the rest of those things. So it's really important to narrow your focus to what's working right now and lean in really hard and run after that and stay in solutions mindset versus scarcity mindset.
What do you look at to see that, okay, hey, this is working, or this is trending in the direction that we want to give our time and our energy to?
Sure. So, and that's really studying. I study several publications. I study a group called Resi Club. I look at Inman. I look at Keeping Current Matters. I look at all the statistical things as far as what real estate is concerned. And I've got 4 newsletters that I get every day. And those 4 newsletters each have certain data points that I look at and study and understand. And once I realized how pivotable this market is and how it's changing every day just with rates and everything else, I realized, hey man, you really got to understand what's going on every 24 hours, every week. And that's going to affect your strategy and your messaging to the public that's going to resonate. So I really try to just get 3 or 4 really, really good sources of real estate information. And every morning when I start my day, I study those pieces of information, and I put that data together and come up with, and it gives me a pretty good idea of trends and where everything's going. A great example would be, what percentage of this market is first-time buyers? What percentage of this market is, downsizers, and just statistically right now, those are your 2 highest percentage movers in this market. Downsizers because most of them are sitting on cash and they're not rate sensitive. First time buyers because they don't know what an interest rate is anyway, because they've never had to pay a mortgage. So the only thing they care about is what's my monthly and can I afford it? They're not like, oh, it's this or oh, it's that, so to speak. And so really understanding what's moving in the market and how to message that and stay in the solutions mindset will get you out of everything else. But I see so many agents that the first time that they get in a room, their topic of conversation is not, hey, what's working and what's your ends and what strategy you're using. Their topic of conversation is, I got to pay my MLS dues this month. How am I going to do that?
Yeah.
And you automatically know what mindset they're in that way. And that's just, there's no path to get out of a tough market if you're thinking that way. So
No, I love that. Right. And so, looking at the the resources, the outlets that are giving you the trends and the data, definitely, for sure, we've been diehard, keeping current matters, just a tremendous resource, finding those other resources. And I'm with you, man. The downsize, and we've seen it with, obviously kind of what's going on in your market. We see it, those that have really embraced that campaign is working really well. And I think what I've seen, it's a have to market. It's not a want to market. And I think you got to go back to, okay, who are all of our have tos in our marketplace, right? The likely make me, likely to move data, I think is so key. I think you look at, embrace kind of Hermosi's, kind of core four and your lead getters. I mean, you can't lose sight and lose touch with the people that know you, like you, love you, trust you. You can't lose sight of social media. Organic social media, I think, is one of the best. Those agents that have understood and play the organic social media game, they're doing well right now. And so this is kind of, we're talking about trends and where to pay attention to, where to get that channel, right? Where the channels that are working, the activities that are working, the things to the message of the have tos. But you look at obviously paid ads. So that's where I would like what you're talking about, right? Either first time home buyer message or a downsize message that I would put some dollars behind. But then you get into that cold outreach. And, we had Kev on not too long ago, just going through the cold outreach with the motive, likely to move seller data. And I just think those are the plays right now, of, within the business, is that if you're not, building around those activities and the message and the opportunities in the marketplace, it's going to be real hard for you as an agent, moving through the rest of this year, especially as who knows what's going to happen with rates, know what they're going to do as we get closer to November. It's just, there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of, uncertainty, and those that can deal with uncertainty I believe will thrive. Those that become paralyzed by uncertainty, are going to in for a tough ride.
You're spot on, and it is a really exciting time, and so I definitely don't want to paint doom and gloom on this. And
Right.
what I mean by the exciting time is, everybody sees information about real estate lawsuits, about agent reduction because of tough markets, just all the things that are creating a perfect storm to challenge agents at their max. And for me, the things that you and I are talking through are strategies, true strategies that are going to go after and get the right message. And I would venture to say that about 90% of the agents that were in this market are watching this going, I don't know anything that you're talking about. I don't understand those strategies. All I've done is just really talk to grandma and grandpa and everybody I used to work with and all that, and try to build. And then when all that traffic flow and all that stops, if you don't understand those true strategies, it can be a really tough market for you. And I think what's so exciting about that is that it does need to push people to a higher level. It's kind of like, when you and I play golf, John, you're a better golfer than me. So, but every time I play golf with you, I play better golf because I'm playing with somebody that's better. It pushes me to that level. And so honestly, I love seeing the challenges because agents need to be pushed to a level, because 80% of the agents I work with and deal with don't deserve to be selling somebody's biggest asset.
Exactly.
So to be able to get into a place where you can really strategize and really understand your audience and really understand your market is really the only place that agents are going to kind of survive in this current environment. So you're going to start seeing a lot of good agents rise to the top, which is really, really, really cool. And with the strategy piece, understanding that is so huge. And you mentioned data, and I'll give you an example. You don't have to call 1,000 people. And you mentioned Kevin, that he's a machine, man. That dude calls like 500 people a day and that type of stuff. And he's just built that way. And man, it's no sweat off his back. And the first person that tells me, says something bad about my mama, I'm driving to their house.
Yeah, we're going
That's
over
not
there.
the best play for me, you know.
Guns
So,
blazing, let's go.
but for instance, just for me, I order a lot of data, and so for instance, I'll order divorce data in our market, and I'll take that divorce data and I'll load that divorce data into my database, and I'll immediately put them on a market report that it automatically sends out. Well, it'll show me who's looking at market reports. Once I load that data, I'll go back 5 or 6 days later and I'll look and see who looked at market reports. And usually out of about 200 or 300 data points, there's usually 10 or 15 people that looked at the email. Of those 10 or 15 people, there's 2 or 3 of them that looked at that. You can tell how many times they looked at the market report. I looked at that market report 10, 15 times and you can see it. So then I'll call and I'll be like, hey, I'm the agent that sent you that data, and I'm just wondering where you are in it. And then the rest of them that don't respond, and those are the hot ones. And generally I'll have conversations that lead to business and that. And that's just, so that's just the way to get it to not a cold call. And another example is just simply those that don't respond, then I will craft a message that doesn't necessarily say, hey, heard you're getting divorced, but it's crafted to have some triggers that key on that point.
Sure.
And I'll run another wave of information, and then I'll see who responds to that. But the whole goal is just to get somebody to raise their hand.
Lead to a conversation.
Just get somebody to raise their hand.
Yep.
Then you can go. And so I think, from an agent's perspective, man, just understand your audience, understand your message, and use a higher level strategy than just hoping for the best. And you'll kill it in this market because there's such a reduction in force that market share is going this way and the agent count's going this way. So if you can, if you've got a chance to polish your business and stay in the mindset of growth and learning versus scarcity, man, it's massive opportunity right now. And you may not see it right now because for military terms, we're in what we call the suck, which is that middle ground where everybody's trying to figure out where to go and nobody doesn't have a strategy, but they know at some point it's going to get better and it's going to go real fast. Well, right now we're kind of figuring out where that is. So I think it's a great time to be in real estate.
Man, I'm with you, brother. I think it is. It's, I think, like I said, coming down to the right mindset, the right way to think about things. I think the biggest thing right now is, is this within my control, and getting back to, okay, who's my real opportunity in today's market. And so we've talked on that. I love the distinction of the downsize and the first time home buyers. And so what's important to them, right? And being able to get that message out to them and crafting that into your, like you said, engagement to be able to raise their hand, because everything that we're doing on that front end just has to lead to a conversation. Because if you can just start to have a conversation, find out what they're trying to do, then you can be like, okay, let's, I know at my core, I've got a solution for you. And so I just need to find out where you're at, and where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do. And if I can come from a consultative approach, and that's what I would tell a lot of agents, right now, is like, you have to lead. This is the other thing too, Gene, that I've seen as we navigate into these waters, is that you have to, we have to lead ourselves, right? And how we're leading ourselves and how we're thinking through things, is this within my control? Where is the opportunity? Is that true? Is that absolutely true? Always stay mindful of the goal. But then I've got to also remember that I've got to lead my client, and it doesn't stop there. I've got to lead the other real estate agent. I've got to lead the lender. I've got to lead title. I've got to lead the attorney. I've got to lead the home inspector. I've got to lead the appraiser. I have to lead this entire situation. In the second that you don't think that you don't have to lead the entire situation is when you're going to get lapped. There's two big voids in this industry, and it's starting to, it's coming to the surface, right? One of them is a lack of skill, and the other is a leadership void. And those that are stepping into that responsibility, knowing like, listen, on my watch, I'd lead this entire thing. It's going to be a little more time, a little more exhausting. However, if you don't, it ain't going to happen. It's just It's just what I'm seeing over and over and over again. But those that are just grabbing the reins of the whole thing and all parties involved in leading doesn't mean you have to do the work. It just means you have to lead through the situation. You have to lead with questions. You got to get out in front. You got to be out on your toes. You got to be preemptive. You got to be proactive. And I mean, you're wired that way. So that's just, you just don't know any different. You're just wired that way. But there's so many people that are not. What do you tell your agents? What do you tell other people to be like, guys, like you have to step up. You have to be the leader that you're meant to be if you really want to thrive moving forward.
Well, I think so many agents get so stuck in procrastination that they won't just go. And I think procrastination at its core is not because agents are lazy. It's because there's some sort of lack of understanding for the action that they're supposed to take. And so for me, I really, I started to tell agents that I coach, I'm like, look, I know this is a hard line, but don't schedule another coaching session with me until, when we leave when we leave, they've identified the top 3 things they want to accomplish in their business. And I'm like, look, until you've accomplished these 3 things you want to put in your business, and these are things that are accomplishable in a smaller period of time, then let's not get on another session. And I find that most times when I do that, agents just won't schedule another coaching call and move forward because they just get stuck. And so, yeah. And so for me, I really, and I know they're not lazy. I mean, I'm looking at these people and, one of them runs marathons, one of them does, they're not lazy. They just won't move. And so I try to really get an understanding of why, and they call it, I'm just procrastinating. I just won't. And it's really not that at all. It's the mindset and where they are and what their lack of understanding is for where they want to go. And I try to tell agents every day, I'm like, how many days a week do you wake up in the morning and figure out what you're going to do after you have your cup of coffee? Most of them do. I'm like, okay, well, there's a certain segment that you do need to do to figure that out, just the day-to-day things that pop up that are random. But your business plan and where you want to go and what you want to do should be without question. So every morning when you wake up, there should be staples that you do every day in your business plan. And I think that really, really, in today's world of everything so fast, and, I'm just going to post that one video that's going to get 20 million subscribers, then I'll be famous. I don't have to do the work is what they think. But what they don't realize the power of is consistency. And so I try to tell them, number one, identify why you're procrastinating. And 99.999% of the time, because it's a lack of understanding. And what I mean by a lack of understanding, I mean a lack of who they want their business to be, where they want to go, why they're even in business in the first place, and what they're going to do with it when they get it. So once we develop the fact that they understand exactly what they want, exactly who they want to go after, the cloud of procrastination is somewhat lifted because of clarity. And so really for me, man, is I really, really try to dive deep into why there is inaction, what the level of not understanding, and most of the time it's just the lack of clarity for what they want to do with their business, why they're selling real estate in the first place, and what direction that they really want to go, or who they want their audience to be, or who they want their clientele to be. So many people just think that I need to jump into real estate and grab just every client I can get, and that's insane. Because I can tell you that if you get a client that doesn't align with your core values and your goals, even though they're your client and you make a commission off of them, they're going to suck the energy out that you would have to get 5 or 6 other clients that do align with you. Yeah. So just really, really getting agents to understand the core business they want and what direction they want to go after, so they wake up every morning and then they have a true purpose. I think has been the biggest thing that moves that needle. And of course, it gets a lot more granular than that on the day-to-day. Sure. But I think from a foundational standpoint, that's helped a lot.
Yeah, it's clarity and a vision, right? And without that, it's the whole, without a vision, the village will perish. And if you don't have that vision for your life and for your business, you're not going to go anywhere. You are going to be in that circular world. And, the sooner that you can straighten that out, knowing where you're at and where you want to go, then you can start getting your ass in gear and putting that plan in place, right? And that's where the tactics, the granular, the day-to-day, like with the strategy, like what is it that we're trying to accomplish, because we know where we're working towards. And, I think the biggest thing, Gene, is that, anytime that you start to feel, that lost in direction is just kind of starting to step back. And two, it's it's the whole, right. You can't see the picture inside of the frame. And so sometimes you got to get out of it and step back, but also sometimes, man, you just need another perspective. And I keep coming back to that. I've shared the plus, minus, and equal with quite a few folks just this week. And what that is, Frank Shamrock's MMA studio, that it's on the wall, right? When you come in and you start taking his classes, he, it's the first thing, plus, minus, and equal. You got to find a plus that's a mentor to you, or a coach, somebody that's going to, help navigate the waters ahead. The minus is somebody that you get to be in that role and mentor and lead and guide. And, new agents hearing that is like, well, I'm brand new. Like who am I going to mentor or lead? Well, you got your license somehow. So I promise you, there's other people out there trying to get their license. You can help them navigate how you got yours. And then the other critical component is that equal, right? Who is going to hold you accountable daily? And I love the accountability exercise from Vern Harnish. And so Vern taught us to always have an accountability partner that you text back and forth every day. And like you have one metric or you have two metrics that you want to be held accountable to. And Vern would always say, well, I want one in my business, and I want one in my health. So it might be, I need to have 10 conversations about real estate, and I need to do 100 push-ups. Those would be my two metrics. And my equal is the person that's going to try and same thing, right? They're committed to that. And at the end of the day, as soon as you get your done, you say, hey, I got 10 calls, and then I did 101 push-ups today. Boom, done, right? I got that accountability partner. And I think if you can just start to build that infrastructure around you, it helps us to push through and do the things that are required. And that's where discipline comes in, right? Doing the things that are required, even when we don't want to do it.
Yep. And I think it's the biggest thing, and I quoted, there's several examples, but you see most successful people, and you look at and I'll just look at an income graph, and the income graph for successful people goes like this. And this is a really long period of time. And then it goes,
yeah,
because they're all learning and failing and learning and failing and learning and failing. And finally it clicks. And then whatever opportunity comes across, all these failures have given them the tool set to be able to capitalize on that final opportunity, which takes them, to the moon. And I think people really, they'll get 75% of the way through that suck and not get to experience that rocket launch. And I think it just goes back to that identifying and consistently identifying things you got to do every day, and not straying from that, man. And that compounding interest of those things, at some point it just explodes. Just like YouTube channels, man. That's the hottest thing in the world is YouTube channels. And Ty and I have been working on a YouTube channel for almost a year now, and we're just shy of 500 subscribers. Well, we've gotten 3 deals off our YouTube channel. We got nothing for 3 months, and then the next 2 or 3 months we got, this is the stupidest video ever. And then we look back, a year ago, and we do look and go, dang, that video did kind of suck bad. And it's amazing what we've learned in between. We didn't even intentionally say we're going to learn this or learn that. We just kept doing it. And every time we do it, we were like, well, that looks stupid. Let's not do that again. Well, that looks stupid. Let's not do that again. But we consistently do it. And so now we're getting compliments. We're getting compliments. We're getting engagement, and at some point, if we consistently continue to do that, it's going to be an asset it's probably going to be a $50,000 to $100,000 a year asset that pays our business, but we're not stopping in the suck. And so just consistency. And everybody's like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, an example would be, well, how does it start? Well, it started with, I'm just going to shoot one 60-second video a day. And why do I shoot that 60-second video a day? Well, what do I put in it? Well, I get a Market Briefs newsletter every morning, and it has a real estate section. It tells you what the current rates are, and it tells you a fun fact about real estate, which most of the time people want to hear about. I shoot a 60-second video about that newsletter.
That's it.
People love it. So when I say consistency, I don't mean go build Rome. I mean just do so, just engage and play offense every day.
Yeah.
So
it's a great point, right? so many people are back on their heels and tend to play defense too long. And it's like, man, a great defense is a great offense. And so just being on the just every day, right? Attack, and attack the day, knowing what's critical and what's not. And like you said in the beginning with Branson was just like, is this going to serve me or not? Right? Is this going to help me get closer to my goal or not? If not, I'm out. Right? If it is, okay, cool, we'll look at it. But I know, only the things that are going to truly matter is where I need to be giving my time and my energy and my focus around. So, no, it's so important. And yeah, I can't. I mean, you and I are wired the same way, Gene. It is consistency, man. It's just stay consistent. And I know for me, it's I'll just outlast you, just flat out. I'll just outlast you, and that's where winning. You can win just by staying in the pocket longer than anybody else. But as long as you're doing the activities that are going to produce the results, like you said, you might not see it, but it's building. Everything has a timetable on it, right? Everything kind of has that cash conversion cycle. And like you were talking, the YouTube channel takes time. But where I think a lot of people get tripped up is that, I want that one video that goes viral and all of a sudden my life changes. Shit just doesn't happen. And so, well, like it's happened before. Well, it's like, yeah, but that's like winning the lottery. So do you want to play those odds? I don't know about you, but I would rather stack the odds in my favor than trying to get hit by lightning.
Well, if you do the work and you truly are committed to consistency, vision, and you do the work, the results of that will allow you to go viral with every damn video you put out. You just got to go through the time zone and the failures and the challenges and the understanding and the levels that it takes to get there. It's just like playing a video game, man. There's levels to it, and so it's like playing The Legend of Zelda, man. Everything's an adventure. Or if you're walking, and I think we get so caught up in failures, and we really shouldn't. It's kind of like walking down the beach and picking up seashells in the morning, man. You'll start your journey on the beach early in the morning, and you'll find, you're all excited about your journey. So you pick up the first few, and they serve you for a little bit, and then you come, and then you find one that's prettier than those, and all of a sudden your pockets are full. So some seashells got to go out, and others go in. So you just keep walking until you got the prettiest damn seashells. I mean, but all those others were part of your journey too. And they're the ones that got you to where you are now. So I think that you got to learn to appreciate the ugly ones and the pretty ones, because they all are required to get you where you want to go.
Right.
So,
so good, man. That's a great distinction. Great analogy there. And, yeah, man, keep walking, keep, picking up what you can, replacing it with even better. And that's just such a great way to go through thinking about our business. And just knowing, man, anybody that tells you right now that, man, things are easy, they're lying to you. I think everybody's in some form of a suck, and it's really, it's pressure, and, enough pressure is where diamonds are made. And, I think if you just stay in the pocket long enough, stay consistent, don't throw in the white flag, the white towel, you're golden. You're gonna persevere through this, and actually, if you do the things daily, Gene, you're just gonna come out. You're gonna position yourself in such a better place than those that are just sitting on the sidelines. It's the whole man in the arena, right? Get your ass in the arena. The critic, don't be the critic. Don't be sitting on the sidelines.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome, brother. Man, Gene, appreciate you jumping in. Always great catching up, adding a ton of value, and definitely in the trenches, not afraid to get in and just do the work. It's one of the things I admire and love about you is that you just get in. You just like I ain't trying to sit out here and be that critic. I'm in the arena and let's go.
I appreciate that. It means the world, man. But you've always laid down the motivation and the guidance and the tools to be successful. And so I'm thankful to be sitting on this podcast with you, man. You've been a blessing from day one. So it's cool to be doing this.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys listening in. Make sure you get pay attention to Gene, what they're doing, what he's doing, and just man, just the day to day, just getting after it every day. It's inspiring. So cool. Appreciate you, brother. We'll see you.
See you, man.